Good afternoon, and welcome to our Linked Over Lunch webinar, a collaborative presentation of the Federation for Children with Special Needs and the Link Center. My name is Jennifer Stewart, and I'm the project coordinator for the Link Center here at the Federation. I want to thank our technical producer, John Sullivan, for helping with the webinar today. Today's webinar is Legal Rights under the Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program at MRC. Our presenter is Ted Mello from the Client Assistance Program at Mass Office on Disability. He has brought some guests with him as well that I will let him introduce. This webinar is 30 minutes to have you easily access the information over your lunch break. Please type your questions in the toolbox. We will leave time at the end to address your questions. If your question is not answered live, please send us an email and we will do our best to follow up with you. And now I'll pass it over to you, Ted.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for attending. My name is Ted Mello. Again, I'm from the Mass Office on Disability. The Mass Office on Disability is a state agency through administration and finance in Mass state government. We'll be talking a little bit more about MOD, but let me go over what we hope to accomplish during this half hour. It's going to fly by. So we're going to present an overview of what MRC is at the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, who the program is for, what the services are, and I'm going to talk about a new program that Congress just approved. I'm going to talk about how the program works and how the Mass Office on Disability, the Client Assistance Program, can assist when issues arise. And we will have about 10 minutes. We have a family who've utilized the Client Assistance Program, so they'll be talking to you directly about the services and also about what MRC assisted them with. So just to start, a little bit about the Mass Office on Disability. This agency, Mass Office on Disability, the agency I work for, primarily is an advocacy agency, serves people with disabilities of all ages, and MOD provides a lot of information about reasonable accommodation, a lot of information about what agencies might be able to help you with different services, help people with disabilities with different services. We provide assistance in reestablishing contact with third-party agencies. MOD resolves disability-related issues, discrimination issues, but primarily MOD is the technical assistance, the ADA coordinating and technical assistance agency for the executive branch, which is a big job. And then MOD provides the Client Assistance Program, which is the program I work for at MOD. And this program provides legal assistance to individuals with disabilities applying for or receiving vocational rehabilitation services from MRC, as well as MCB, the Mass Commission for the Blind, and the Independent Living Services. We inform people of their rights under the Act. We represent people if they're having difficulty, if they want us to represent them with any concerns they have with MRC. We'll pursue legal, administrative, and other remedies, informal hearings, formal hearings, through MRC. And we'll facilitate access through systemic advocacy. Oh, I see a little typo. Just ignore that through. It's just ignore that. Don't look at that. Sorry about that. But anyhow, we'll do systemic advocacy as well. This is the kind of what we're doing right now, is some systemic advocacy by putting the word out as much as we can that we exist. And just like MRC, CAP is funded under the Act in every state and territory. So just a little bit, by the way, you'll get this PowerPoint through the Federation, but just a little bit more. CAP that's the phone number to reach us, the toll-free number, and our address. Okay. Um, okay, so let me just jump into what VR does. Where uh, the VR agency at MRC has a number of different area offices. If you're wondering what area office you would want to use, you would use based on where you live. Uh, we want to give you the direct number for MRC, 617-204-3600. You just ask them. I live in Quincy. What office do I use? But there's also additional statewide services at MRC that are not vocationally rehab related, but just to let you know what some of them are, and like the Turning 22 independent living services, supported living, home care services. A lot of these are state funded, like the statewide head injury program is for people who have traumatic brain injury. And some of the funds that come into that program are, I don't know, every speeding ticket, $50 on every speeding ticket goes right into the statewide head injury program. I've paid into it several times myself. Um, They have assistive technology program, the loan program. Also, MRC does disability determination for the Social Security Administration. But what we're talking about is the vocational rehab services piece, and that's funded right. That's operated right through the 25 area offices that MRC has around the state. But also under the reauthorization of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, there's this new service, and VR is under this reauthorization. Um, the services for youth specifically were expanded. Students with disabilities in high school who are the vocational rehab agency is now required to provide pre-employment services as part of the services that they offer. And it's big because this is the service that can provide students with disabilities work experience during high school, which can be a big determination on how you kind of get an idea of what you want to do or what you don't want to do. But anyhow, there's job exploration counseling is included in that, work-based learning experiences, counseling on opportunities post-high school, workplace readiness training, and instruction in self-advocacy. And the state MRC has to reserve at least 15% of their funds, that's millions of dollars in the Commonwealth, to provide this service. Okay? So to be eligible for mass rehab, just a quick overview. I'll run through this kind of quickly. There must be a disability, must be a barrier to employment, and you must need services in order to gain, maintain, regain, or advance in employment. People on SSI are automatically eligible. But one of the things about this new service is that for pre-employment services, you just have to be potentially eligible. So that could happen fairly quickly in the process. And again, this is new. We think there's going to be some issues that may arise, and that's when you can utilize the client assistance program if there's any controversy in order to get tied in with these services. Okay? So the services at mass rehab are any goods and services that can reasonably be expected to benefit you in terms of the employment outcome that you've identified with the agency. Okay? Any goods and services, and that includes things like assessment, counseling and guidance, referral and other services, job coaching, job placement, vocational and other training services. Just by the way, for post-secondary and post-secondary education, people who are eligible for MRC, the Vocational Rehab Program, get their tuition waived in every state school in the Commonwealth. That's a tremendous benefit. MRC also provides diagnosis and other treatment, home modification, vehicle modification, maintenance in the form of financial assistance for costs incurred, additional costs incurred to participate in services, transportation, on the job, and other related personal assistance services, interpreter services, like including foreign language or sign, um, occupational licenses and tools, technical assistance on starting a business plan. Transition services is also a service they provide, including these pre-employment services that are now new. Supported employment services, customized employment services to family members, post-employment services. What we're trying to relay here is that the services through the Mass Rehab Commission are extensive. Pre-employment service is like the stepping stone. It's a sequence of services. Pre-employment would be first potentially, and then the full range of services. So let me also now jump to everyone who is involved with Mass Rehab gets an IPE. But the big thing to remember with these services is that it has to be consistent with an individual's capacities, abilities, unique strengths, priorities, concerns, resources, interests, and informed choice. So we're not just talking about any job, we're talking about the kind of preparation that any citizen goes through in terms of getting an idea of where they want to head vocationally. So who should come to the agency is to MRC, people who have an IEP, people who are involved in 688, Chapter 688, students who have a 504 plan, basically any student with a disability. And just so you know, people can be involved in vocational rehabilitation at MRC even if another agency is the lead agency under Chapter 688. We're not going to spend a lot of time on Chapter 688 because that's probably a whole nother webinar. But anyhow, just a little overview of that. You can be with Chapter 688 at say DMH, but also make an application individually through VR at the same time. There's no prohibition. Chapter 688 is a state law. MRC is a federal law. Okay. So when to refer, that's about 2 years before you're going to leave the school system. Transition planning can occur. The plan can be put together, and pre-employment services can be provided. So the process would be you come in through Chapter 688 or directly or both. Assessment gets started, eligibility is determined, and a plan is written, services are provided, employment is secured. Then after 90 days, once you're working, with the client's okay, the case can be closed successfully, and then you can come back for post-employment services or supported employment if you need that. So basically, just to talk a little bit about the client rights, anyone, just so you know, anyone who is aggrieved of any sort of determination made by the agency, individuals have a right to be heard. So based on the federal statute, an individual who's a client or applicant of MRC has a right to be heard when there's ever a decision made that affects their services. So it's basically anything that goes on at MRC, people have a right to talk about that with the agency, including the informal appeals process and the formal appeals process. But at this point, I'd like to jump to the family that is with us, who came all the way from the Cape of Cod to participate in this. The family has utilized the Client Assistance Program at the Mass Office on Disability, so I'd like to introduce them. Here with us is Julia Ewing, who will talk about her experience with CAP and Voc Rehab, as well as her mother, Melinda Ewing, who will be providing us also with some insights on what that experience was like. So I'm gonna jump right to you, Julia. Okay.
Okay.
So why did you go to CAP? What was up?
I was having trouble coordinating services with MRC
Okay.
because I did choose an unusual major.
Okay.
My major is radiologic technologist,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't believe they had the experience in placing clients into a rad tech job, shadowing, or career exploration jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I also needed help finding a counselor who I could communicate with, since my disability sometimes interferes with my comprehension.
Okay.
I also was attending an out-of-state school because Mass did not provide a program to meet my needs.
Okay. All right. So you were having a little difficulty with VR.
Yes.
Because you wanted it to look a certain way, the services to look a certain way. So you then called CAP. And what did CAP do?
My advocate at CAP works between my counselor and me to make sure funding is secured and my questions were answered.
Okay.
When I moved, my advocate made sure my file was transferred quickly so there was no interruptions. This was very important to me as a college student because I needed to focus on my studies instead of worrying about my funding or trying to contact my counselor for help, since they are very busy and I was in class when they would call me.
Okay.
It never took more than one call to CAP to get my concern or question answered.
Oh, okay. So you the communication again. I mean, they would call you during the day, and that's you couldn't talk to them because you were in school.
Yes.
And so he would sort of help you with that communication. He would relay messages to them for you.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so when it came to expressing your needs to them, to Mass Rehab, how did that work with CAP? I mean, did CAP get your okay to pursue a certain issue with them, or how did that work?
Yes. I was able to take interest in ability tests to make sure I had chosen the right goal. For me, as a high school student, I didn't fully know what I wanted to have my career in, and I know that your first year of college, you want to make sure you know what major you want. So I was offered a career exploration and job shadowing experience in radiology. I also had an internship at Children's Hospital in Boston in the endocrine system. I know it's not in my major, but it definitely helped me be in a hospital environment. So I definitely knew that I wanted to work in the hospital field.
Okay.
I also received funding towards my college program, and I look forward with help finding my first job as a rad tech after I pass my boards.
Awesome. So at the same time that CAP is helping you,
Yes.
Mass Rehab has also done a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They've helped you with school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And so can you talk a little bit about the different services that they've provided you? Like they've helped you with school, right?
Yes.
No. Yeah, they've helped you with school. And like so do they help you with transportation at all?
Yes.
How about books?
Yes.
Okay. And so you say you're living in Vermont?
Yes.
Okay. And are they helping with that at all?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so all those different things that you've been able to, that Mass Rehab is helping you with, did CAP help you at all get some of those things straightened out?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mom, did you want to add anything?
Well, I'd like to add that first of all, is from a parent perspective, and I know many parents who are listening out there have dealt with educational advocates. I've done this for many, many years with 2 children, and I was almost shocked, and I will use the word shocked, that I could get free services. I used to pay an educational advocate, that state-funded program is out there that actually helps assist a parent from the emotional attachment that you have to your child, because we have all fought way too long to get towards the end of the line and help transition our children out of public school into voc rehab programs, employment. So they really helped, calm me down at times, and also act as an advocate for my daughter to make sure that whatever services she was entitled to receive were provided in a timely manner. So that I can't say enough about how much help we received from CAP. Julia I could say unequivocally, could not have gone through this program and gone through her Rad Tech program, and we're still going through it. So we haven't finished yet without the assistance of Mass Rehab and the CAP program working together.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Julia came all the way from Vermont, from the beautiful Green Mountains to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, just to go a little bit further on some of the rights that people have. People have a right to fair and complete evaluation, to be determined eligible. People have a right to be determined eligible in 60 days. People on SSI or SSDI are automatically eligible. People have a right to have their plan written within 90 days of eligibility. People have a right to be a partner in developing the plan that, again, are consistent with an individual's capacities, abilities, unique strengths, priorities, concerns, resources, interests, and informed choice. And that's the heart of the matter, again. It's all those things. And then people have a right to written notice when their cases, when there's a decision made that affects their services, that they have a right for written notice of their appeal rights, and also to be given information about CAP, the Client Assistance Program at the MOD. So if there's an issue that arises, discuss the issue with the agency representative, and if you can't get it resolved, contact CAP for advocacy or representation at that phone number shown on your screen. Okay, so I think now we'll take any questions that might have come in over the course of the...
Great, thank you. So we do have one question, and feel free to type questions now, and we'll take a few minutes to answer them. So the first question is, can a non-citizen or non-U.S. resident student who is on an IEP receive MRC services?
The answer is people can if they have the ability to work, like a green card. There needs to at least exist the ability for the person to legally work in the country. So if there's a green card, the answer is yes. If there's not, if the person has no potential temporary citizenship, then the answer is no. They wouldn't be able to get mass rehab services because the program is for employment.
Okay. My son is turning 22 in May. Is this coordinated through the school, or must I contact directly?
Okay. Either or is the answer. That is a person can ask us, the school, to make a referral up to age 22, or the family can contact the local MRC office directly. Either way.
Right, so you don't need a Chapter 680 referral. You can just go to your area office. Right. Well, feel free to type any more questions. I just want to inform everybody about our next webinar for the Linked Over Lunch, which is October 27th at noon. And that topic will be about how school transition teams can work together to support a student's vision. We're having a consultant come in who's going to share her experience working with some school districts to help the school really realize how everyone on the transition team can help support a student to reach their post-secondary vision. If there's no other questions, I just want to thank our speakers today and our family for coming in, Julia and her mom. This was so informative, not only about MRC and the services available, but also the CAP program, which can greatly help families. And if you didn't know about it, please make sure you share. This webinar will be available on our website, so make sure to share with those that couldn't attend. If you do have a question, feel free to email me, and thank you for joining us.